a lot of people want to get some glimpse and get to talk to Magnus. But right now, it's all action and focus. The round 2 is about to begin. Players are zoned in. Finek opens the game with c4. Now you can see the position. It has a bishop, knight, rook, queen, knight, bishop, king, and rook. Magnus decides to respond back with b6. You will always see from Magnus that he takes care of his bishops. First move opens up the light squared bishop on this diagonal. And let's see what Vaclav plays here now. Because in some ways the position is a little bit similar to our traditional position of chess. He plays his pawn to b3, opening up the bishop. Why is it similar? Because the queen on d1 and d8 is where it is in the starting position in normal chess, and king on g1 and g8 is where it goes after short castling. So that does create some contours of the position which are similar to position 5 and 8, which is the standard traditional chess. Now Magnus opens up his dark squared bishop here, and Finek also does the same. He plays pawn to e3. For Finek, this is a great opportunity to face one of the best players in the world and also to learn from him. Knight comes out to f6. And maybe knight to f3 makes a lot of sense. He plays pawn to d4 now, capturing the center. And let's see what Magnus comes up with now. Well, he pushes his pawn to c5, a very logical move, because d5 is not possible here. You will simply lose a pawn here. So that's the reason why that makes sense. Finek goes knight to f3, defending the central pawns. And Magnus decides to chop off the pawn. Now taking back with the pawn would not be a great idea, as then d5 and black seems to be doing very well. So maybe taking back with a piece makes sense, and he takes back with the knight. In such positions, black has two ways to approach it. One is to go d6, a6 and take some kind of a hedgehog setup, which is very complex but also quite dangerous. The other is what Magnus has done, is to play d5, which equalizes the space in the center of the board, but on the other hand leads to a position that could be very dry and equal. That's because black could take on c4 and just make the structure quite symmetrical. The bishop comes out to c5. The bishop is now putting pressure on the knight on d4. And Finek completes his development. He goes knight to d2. Black can actually get very ambitious and push the pawn to e5. But I believe Magnus first wants to castle it out. He does so. Short castle comes on the board. And I think Vaclav also will castle. That's what he does. Look at that. Bringing the king back. Like puts the king back on the board and then turns the rook over to f1 and brings it back to g1. Queen e7 played here by Magnus. And what should white do next? He takes the pawn on d5. C takes on d5. And he takes back. Knight takes d5. So you can see how the structure has become very symmetrical here. And Finek plays bishop f3, keeping an eye on this diagonal. Knight comes out to d7. And Magnus is just in this calm mode of getting all his pieces out in the game. Knight to c4. And already it feels like this position has, the knights are all looking here. This knight is looking in the center. It's all very crowded. Rook d8. Magnus building up, piling it up, making Finek take a call. Will the youngster be able to keep his patience? For the time being, it seems like it. He goes queen e2. Will either of the players kind of lash out with e5? It seems unlikely because both e4 and e5 are met with the knight jumps to f5 and f4. Magnus goes a6. Again, a nice improving move. Maybe at some point you want to play b5. For the time being, he's just taking into control the b5 square. And Finek goes a4. Trying to stop the b5 ideas. This does give up the b4 square. But I guess for Finek, it didn't matter so much that he was giving up that. And Magnus again makes a calm waiting move. Bishop b7. He has 42 minutes on the clock. Finek has 38. He brings his rook into the center of the board. Well, the patience with which Finek is playing here is also quite admirable here. Knight to f8. And now the knight is trying to get to g6. From g6 could jump to h4 or to e5 later. He goes pawn to g3. A useful move so that later the bishop would do well on g2. Knight comes out to g6. What a game this has been. We are on move number 16. Both the players just moving around. Bishop g2, not giving each other an inch. And Magnus is of course known for this sort of play. But for Finek, just a 15-year-old, to match the greatest player on the planet, again h6, not doing much. How tough or easy it is? In my opinion, it's extremely tough when you face Magnus. Because, you know, Magnus has this insane ability to shift from the mode of slow play into quick play. Now bishop b2, again a calm move here, and now Magnus brings his knight back to f6. This is now the first kind of moment where you are trading bishops. So he takes on b7, queen takes b7. We have some development there. Yan looking at the position quite intensely. And what is Finek going to do next? He offers the queen for trade with queen f3. Taking the queen might be a very normal move, but look at this move by Magnus. I absolutely love it. Rook d5. Maybe it's just to shield the queen from a trade, but also to double down the d file. It's a very, very amazing move. Queen comes back to e2. Pawn to b5. Magnus is now switching into a power play mode somehow. Wow. b5 on the board. And is this going to lead to a loss of a pawn? Like, think about it. AB, there will be knight a5. So AB, knight a5. Maybe there's queen a8 attacking here. Queen takes b5 doesn't work because of bishop d4 attacking the queen. Okay, so Magnus takes back the pawn. Again, this requires very, very decent, very, very sharp calculations. Knight goes back to d2. And what is Magnus going to do here? Well, he takes on d4. Fantastic move. Again, the best move in the position. How does Magnus realize that this is the time to give up the bishop? How does he understand this? Bishop d4. It's time to push the pawn to e5. Again, a great move. Now taking here does not make sense because after take bishop b2, the queen can enter down the c file. So you have to keep the c file. Bishop b2 is the best move. But now Magnus can play rook c d8. Doubling the rook. Playing like stockfish here. Absolute accuracy. Rook c d8. He goes knight to f3. Attacking the pawn here on e5. But now a very strong move is knight to e4. Getting into the camp. Again finds it. Wow. Wow. What an amazing move. What an amazing move here by Magnus. He's going to play f6 next. And just create this strong barrier against the bishop on b2. Finek here getting a very strong masterclass in positional play. He goes h4. His idea is to push this knight off, try to win the e5 pawn. But Magnus has it all figured out. He's going to play f6. He does it. He pushes his pawn to f6. Phenomenal play by the world number one. Queen c2. And in a way, Finek does have the c file now. But how important is it? Knight comes back to f8. Maybe the knight will be very well placed on e6 later. Could jump to c5. He takes, rook takes d5. And you can take with the rook, you can take with the queen. Both seem okay because rook takes, you can't take on e4. There's a check and you lose the queen. Magnus takes with the queen here, taking control of the d file. Now very important to keep a normal position, but he goes wrong. Finek with just 51 seconds on his clock plays queen c6. And this is a key error. Now Magnus is going to get in. And how does he do that? He takes on c6. Rook takes c6. And it's time to enter into the white camp. Rook d3. Fantastic move. Attacking the b3 pawn. h5 played here by Finek. He's like, take the pawn. I'm hoping to create some kind of a mating net with my knight coming from h4 to f5 or g6 with my rook coming into c8 or c7. This is what I would like to do. It takes the pawn on b3. Rook takes b3, attacking the b2 bishop. He comes back, rook c2, defending the bishop there. But now it's an extra pawn. Magnus brings the knight into the game. Now it's all domination from this point onwards. The knights are going to create this huge pressure. Knight h4. And this game has been absolutely stunning. That middle portion where Magnus kind of converted from an equal position into a better position was really a work of art. Now knight c5 blocks the c file, ready to push the b pawn. King comes to f1. And finds knight to d3. The b2 bishop is now hanging. So bishop comes up to c3. It's time for some breakthrough now. b4. b4 comes in. The bishop is running out of squares. It can't go to a1, there's a check. It can't go to e1 because of rook b1. So bishop d2 seems like the only move. But now you can already check and the b pawn can move one step ahead. So he first goes knight c5. Look at how the knights are supporting each other, moving forward step by step. Comes king e2. And Magnus plays his rook to, he's thinking about this, and goes rook b1. Fantastic move. b3, b2 on the cards, followed by rook moving in, and a queen can be created. Finek has been outplayed, fair and square. It's move 38. He stops the clock. A handshake. And the youngster from Czech Republic, just 15 years of age, got